Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into a play, The Knight of Malta. Think love triangles, knights sworn to chastity, and a noble lady, well, she's caught in a web of deceit.
Sounds intense.
Oh, it is. To help us unpack all this drama, we have with us, well, an expert in, all things theater.
I'm excited to dive in.
Me too. Okay, so first, let's set the scene for our listener. We're in Malta, right? Home of the Knights of Malta.
A powerful order.
Yeah, known for their vows of chastity defending the faith. And our main players, well, there's Montferrat, a knight who's totally smitten with Oriana.
She's a noble lady.
Right, and she doesn't exactly return his affections. Now, we also have two other knights, Gomera and Miranda, and they're both in love with Oriana, too. But their love is, I'd say, honorable and respectful.
Quite a contrast to Montferrat's.
Yeah, his pursuit is, well, let's just say intense.
Montferrat is full of contradictions. He's sworn to uphold the values of the order, yet he's consumed by desire for Oriana.
You can really see this in his soliloquies.
Absolutely. The playwright uses them brilliantly to reveal his, inner turmoil. We hear him grappling with his vows, trying to justify his actions. For instance, he says, "Of all the paths lead to a woman's love, pity's the straightest."
So he's trying to convince himself that, if he can just make Oriana feel sorry enough for him.
Exactly. Like, if he can just wear her down.
Classic strategy. But Oriana, well, she's having none of it.
Nope.
She is portrayed as, the epitome of virtue, defending her honor with, eloquence and strength. It makes you wonder, though, was the playwright simply reinforcing societal expectations of women?
That's a great question. I think it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
While Oriana does embody, idealized femininity, her strength and her wit suggest she's not just a passive damsel in distress. In fact, she challenges Montferrat's advances directly, reminding him of his oaths and his duty.
Makes her a much more compelling character.
Definitely.
Now, we also have Xanthia.
Oriana's Moorish servant?
Right, and she represents a different kind of female character altogether. She's much more pragmatic about love and doesn't, shy away from expressing her desires. How does her presence impact the dynamic of the play?
Xanthia is fascinating. On the surface, she might appear to be simply a foil to Oriana's idealized femininity. But if we dig a little deeper, we see that she's operating within a complex web of power dynamics and cultural expectations. She's a woman of color in a society dominated by white Christian men.
Right.
Her actions, while sometimes morally ambiguous, can be seen as a form of resistance or even survival.
It's interesting. It makes me think about how different characters navigate the societal constraints of their time. Now, let's shift our focus to the other two knights vying for Oriana's affection, Gomera and Miranda. They seem to represent different facets of honorable love, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
So.
While Gomera, with his maturity and experience, offers stability and wisdom, Miranda, on the other hand, embodies youthful idealism, and passionate devotion. They both love Oriana deeply, but express it in ways that reflect their personalities and life stages.
Makes sense. It's not just about romantic love, though, right? Miranda faces another kind of temptation with Lucinda, the Turkish captive disguised as a servant.
Oh, yes, Lucinda.
She really throws him for a loop. But ultimately, he chooses virtue, proving his, unwavering devotion to Oriana. What does this subplot tell us about Miranda's character?
Well, Miranda's encounter with Lucinda reveals his inner strength and commitment to his values. He's tempted, of course, but he recognizes the potential consequences of his actions and chooses to prioritize his honor and his love for Oriana.
Right.
This episode highlights the universal struggle between desire and duty, a theme that resonates throughout the play.
It's a reminder that even the most honorable individuals can be tested by temptation. And speaking of tests, Montferrat's desperation takes a dark turn when his advances are continually rebuffed by Oriana. Things are about to get really interesting.
Yes, indeed. Montferrat, consumed by jealousy and rage, hatches a plan to frame Oriana for treason. He forges letters intending to convince her brother, the Grand Master of Malta, that she's been plotting with the enemy.
That's a bold move. It raises some serious questions about the vulnerability of women to slander and manipulation, especially in societies where their voices are often silenced. Sadly, this type of plot where a woman's reputation is used as a weapon, well, it's a recurring theme throughout history.
It certainly is. And the play's exploration of this theme resonates deeply, even centuries later. But it's important to remember that Oriana is no damsel in distress. She may be facing imprisonment and possibly execution, but her spirit remains unbroken. She's determined to fight for her honor and expose Montferrat's lies.
So the stage is set for a classic showdown. Oriana's fate hangs in the balance, and it all comes down to a trial by combat. Tell me about that scene. What are the stakes for each of the characters?
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Knight of Malta. So last time, right, we left off with Oriana facing a trial by combat, her fate resting on the outcome of a duel, Gomera versus Miranda. It's a high-stakes scene, full of dramatic irony, as both knights believe she's guilty of treason.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, They're fighting for her honor, even though they've been totally deceived by Montferrat's lies. So, what happens during the combat? Does either knight, hesitate, knowing they could be condemning an innocent woman?
Well, both Gomera and Miranda, they fight valiantly. Their loyalty to the Order, their love for Oriana, it's fueling their every move. However, Miranda, maybe sensing a deeper truth, he makes a crucial decision during the fight.
Oh.
Yeah, he intentionally weakens his defense, allowing Gomera to disarm him.
Wow. So he's, choosing to lose the duel,
Right.
knowing that it will save Oriana's life, even though he still thinks she betrayed them.
Exactly. It speaks to the depth of his love for her.
That's incredible. He's willing to sacrifice his own honor, his reputation, to protect hers.
It's a powerful testament to the enduring nature of love and the complexities of, well, human emotion.
Now, before we move on, I have a question that's been bugging me. Gomera, he says he can't be a knight because he's in love. What's that all about? I thought knights were supposed to be, chivalrous and romantic.
You've hit on a key aspect of the play. Remember, the Knights of Malta, they took vows of poverty and chastity. So Gomera confessing his love for Oriana, well, it means he can't fully embrace the Order's way of life.
Oh, right, the vows. It's a glimpse into, the complexities of honor and duty within this order.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. So Gomera's love for Oriana, while honorable, it creates this conflict with his commitment to the knights. Another example of how the playwright uses these personal desires to explore these larger themes of duty and sacrifice. But what about Oriana? She's imprisoned, falsely accused, sentenced to death. What happens to her?
This is where the play takes an unexpected turn. Remember, Montferrat didn't actually poison Oriana.
Oh, wow.
It was his accomplice, Xanthia.
Right.
She gave her a sleeping potion, made it look like she was dead. Well, the potion wears off, and she wakes up, alive, in her own tomb.
Wait, hold on. How often do people wake up in their tombs?
I get your skepticism, but remember, this is a play. Dramatic twists are part of the appeal, right? The playwright uses this unexpected turn of events to heighten the tension and explore these themes of redemption, second chances.
Okay, I get it. So Oriana wakes up in her tomb. Who finds her?
Miranda.
No way.
Yeah, he's heartbroken over the duel, right? Goes to the tomb to pray for Oriana's soul. Imagine his shock when he finds her waking up.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time. So what does he do?
He takes her to safety, hides her in his fort.
Wow, that's risky. She's still, a condemned woman.
It is, and all this is happening while Gomera is being invested as a knight.
So he still thinks she's dead.
Yeah.
And his rival is hiding her in his fort.
Irony.
It's almost too much. So while Gomera prepares to take his vows, Miranda arrives at the auberge, where the knights are gathered for the ceremony. What happens next?
Well, Miranda, he asks permission from the Grand Master to settle the affairs of his captives and his fort before taking his final vows. He wants to enter the order with a clear conscience.
Sounds like he's setting the stage for a grand reveal. Does he tell the Grand Master about Oriana?
Not directly. Instead, he brings forth his Turkish captive, veiled, of course, and asks Gomera to take custody of her.
Okay.
He claims the woman has requested this, having heard of Gomera's wisdom and temperance, his kindness towards women.
Oh, the suspense. I bet Gomera's confused.
He is. Gomera refuses, actually. He says he can never, endure the sight of another woman after losing Oriana.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
But Miranda has a plan, right? He can't let Gomera keep believing she's dead.
Exactly. In a dramatic gesture, he tears off the veil, and it's Oriana.
I knew it. What's Gomera's reaction?
Welcome back. We left off with quite the cliffhanger. Oriana's alive, and Gomera is, well, I'm sure you can imagine.
Totally shocked.
Yeah.
So what happens next? How does he react to this, this unbelievable turn of events?
It's a mix of joy and confusion for Gomera, I'd say. He's overjoyed to be reunited with Oriana, of course, but he's also deeply hurt by Xanthia's betrayal, right?
It's a lot to process.
It is. The play doesn't, explicitly detail how he handles these complex emotions.
But with Oriana's return, Montferrat's scheme falls apart, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He's exposed as a liar, a manipulator, stripped of his knighthood, and banished from Malta along with Xanthia.
So justice is served.
You could say that.
What happens to them after they're banished? I mean, what becomes of Mountferrat and Xanthia?
The Grandmaster, he spares Mountferrat's life, surprisingly, but he decrees that Mountferrat must marry Xanthia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, after which they're both exiled, forbidden from ever returning to Malta. It's a punishment that, reflects the severity of their crimes, but also offers a glimmer of hope for their potential redemption.
Interesting. Punishment, but with a chance for a new beginning.
Yeah.
What about the child that Miranda rescued with Oriana? What happens to the baby?
Ah, yes, the child. This is where things get even more, well, tangled. Turns out the child is Gamera's son, but Xanthia is the mother.
What? So not Oriana?
Not Oriana, no.
How does this all come out?
Miranda reveals the truth to the whole court. He explains that, Lucinda, the Turkish captive, is actually Angelo, a Florentine who was enslaved by the Turks. And, well, Xanthia is actually Lucinda. She converted to Christianity for Angelo and secretly married him.
So many twists and turns. It's incredible. What a story. So how does everyone react to this revelation?
Well, there's a collective gasp, of course, followed by, stunned silence. But the Grandmaster, he's a wise and compassionate leader, right?
Yeah.
He grants Miranda's request to give his fort to his, newfound kinsman, Angelo. This allows Angelo and Lucinda, along with their child, to start a new life together, free from the shadows of their past.
That's a beautiful ending for them. A moment of grace and forgiveness, recognizing that amidst all the deceit, love and family can prevail. Now, what about Miranda? He's been so honorable throughout this whole ordeal. Does he get the recognition he deserves?
He does. He doesn't end up with Oriana, but he gains the respect and admiration of the entire court. His actions prove his worthiness of knighthood, even before he officially receives the title.
It's a good reminder that true heroism isn't always about, grand gestures or winning battles. It can be about these quiet acts of courage and self-sacrifice. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Knight of Malta, what are some key takeaways?
I think the play offers a lot for us to think about, really. It explores the power of love, the complexities of honor, the dangers of ambition, and the possibility of redemption. It reminds us that even when facing adversity, the human spirit can triumph, and that forgiveness and understanding can lead to healing and new beginnings.
It's a story that continues to resonate with audiences, even centuries later. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Your insights have been so insightful.
It was my pleasure. These deep dives are always fascinating.
And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this, exploration of the Knight of Malta, be sure to check out other plays from this era. There are so many great stories out there waiting to be discovered. And until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open. Remember, even in the darkest of plots, there's always a glimmer of hope and, the possibility of a happy ending.